Kyle Tierman here. I'm in Cape Town.
I was the only journalist in northern Nigeria.
Not an adventure until you get lost in Tijuana.
If you get caught inside by a giant wave, you feel really alone.
I love the adventure of waking up and not knowing what will happen and that being my job.
Chris Burroughs, dude, so good to see you, my friend.
What's going on?
What's going on? How you living, my friend?
Man, I'm blessed. I feel like magic.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's good. Everything is good. Sometimes I got to snap myself up. Better?
Yep. Perfect.
All right. Sometimes I got to snap myself into, remembering that it's all good. But it's definitely a beautiful life.
I know. I'm so happy to see you.
Yeah, me too, man.
It's been way too long. We were gonna run our marathon together, and then that got nixed. But you look good. You said you've lost
35 pounds.
You've lost 35 pounds
since March.
That's incredible. How are you doing this?
I needed to. Well, not drinking juice every night out of the container, the big juice container.
Yeah. What was your juice of choice?
Like cranberry juice. They got all the mixes, cran raspberry, cran pomegranate, all that stuff. I like that.
It's the best, but it's just pure calories.
Yeah, and gummy bears. I cut down on the gummy bears. Like I didn't cut them out all the way. That's a hard thing for somebody like me to do.
Okay.
I'm part gummy.
Dude, while training for this ultra,
yeah,
gummy bears were my fuel of choice, right? Because when you're running these long distances, you're fueling up while on the trail, and I didn't realize that the best possible diet for ultra marathon athletes is fat kid food.
Really?
It's just like Snickers bars and gummy bears and like all the sugariest shit that they tell you to stay away from. You can just, it's like, dude, for months it was like Halloween in my cabinet.
Nice. So tell me about the ultra.
Well, it was very fun. I enjoyed it a lot. It was, it was just a different thing for me. Like just it was different to have to train for a new kind of sport. One that took a different kind of a different part of my body, and one that you have to be pretty careful with to actually train for in a smart way.
Because you get hurt training.
Yeah, well, what happens is, as they say, is that your cardio will increase quite fast. If you're running a lot, you're within a couple weeks, you're going to be like, oh wow, I can go from running 2 miles without huffing and puffing to running 10 miles without puffing and puffing. Like that changes faster than your muscles do. So the risk that everyone said was to just go slow, just go like low and slow for the first couple months and then just gradually build up. And what they talk about is like zone 2 training, right? So increasing the amount of time that you are basically at a slow jog. What they say is like, go at the speed that you could still carry on a conversation, and then just do that for a lot of miles, building up. And then that is the correct way to train for something really far. How
long was the ultra?
50 kilometers. So that's about 31 miles.
Okay.
Which is, I very quickly am like, well, it's not like 100 miler or like, some people do like 200 miles. It's insane. But for me, I was very stoked on it. I think that I'm proselytizing the good gospel now to anyone who will listen, because I think that doing endurance sports, it just engages a different part of your brain than, basketball or surfing, things that are like faster pace, but done at a shorter duration.
Yeah. When I was in Soledad State Prison, CTF, I ran a marathon, and in training, I'm a kind of bigger guy, so, my basketball playing weight's about 208, and I gotta remember to keep this thing up. so I was training for a marathon, and I was running, 10, 12, 13, 14 miles a day. And I noticed I got down to like 185, and my waist was, I mean, you got drawstrings in there, so you don't know your pant size,
Right,
but
right.
it's probably like around a 32, which I hadn't been at since I was maybe 12 years old.
Really?
And
You just can't keep calories on. Like when you're running that much, it's crazy.
And then we stopped. The race got postponed, and I stopped training, and I blew back up to 215 almost immediately.
When you were in Soledad State Prison, what did your training look like for this marathon?
I was using the Runner's World books. There was a teacher there that was a marathon runner, and she knew I liked to run, and so she was bringing me the Runner's World books, and I was just going off like a 10-week training program. I was already running a lot, and that's what gave me the idea to start the marathon, to run a marathon. And then we talked to the administration, and they were like, yeah, you could run it. You could run a marathon, a 10K, 5K, and a mile. And so they blocked off the track. So I was already just running every day. I was on C status, which means I had nothing coming, basically. I had gotten kicked out of another prison and sent to Soledad, and because I had gotten in trouble. And so on C status, I didn't have anything coming. I couldn't go to school. I couldn't have a job. I basically was a yard bum. All I would do was just run the track, play basketball and football and all that on the yard all day. So I was running a lot. And I was like, I want to run this marathon. Asked them. They said yes. And then got the Runner's World book from her. And it was like a 10 or 12 week training program. I probably could have ran it the same day because I was running that much every day. But yeah, so
you'd run the track, and how big is the track?
The track was, I think that track was 3 laps was a mile. I think if I can remember correctly, it was.
Wow, it's a lot. So then, did you have someone there clocking you as you were doing the marathon, or was it just by yourself? Everyone else is out on the yard.
Yeah.
And you were like, I'm going to go do a marathon today.
No, it was, we had people sign up. We worked with the coach there, the sports, I forgot what they call him, the rec coordinator or whatever he was. And so that day they, everybody in the prison knew they put out flyers. If you want to run this race, that race, or the other. And then they had the track cordoned off so nobody could walk the track that day. And then, they timed us, and I was trying to get less than 3:30, which at the time was my my age group time for the Boston Marathon, because I had like a year left, maybe less than that, and I had dreams of running the Boston Marathon. But like I said, I blew up to 215 and ran the race at 215 instead of 185, and I ended up at 4 hours 14 minutes and 52 seconds.
That's great.
I mean, I was okay with it. I ran a marathon. I can say I did that.
How did it feel to do that? Do you remember what it was like to actually run? Because in my experience doing this ultra, then they say it, but it gets astronomically harder in the final 10%.
I walked mile 23. My groin was on fire.
Yeah.
I hadn't up to that point during the training, I think the most I had run was 22 miles.
In a single shot.
Yeah,
Yep.
in a single shot. And I remember, man, that 23rd, and somebody beat me. And that hurt because wasn't nobody supposed to beat me. This is my race.
Yeah.
And this cat beat me. But I just remember around mile 22, 23, my groin was on fire, right? Where your legs connect to your torso, fire.
Yeah.
And I was like, I gotta walk. And so I walked a couple laps in mile 23, and then I finished it out just running slow.
So at Burning Man, where I did this ultra, I was training with my buddy Kevin all year, and right around like mile 28, Kevin's I think his quad cramped up, and they, to the point where it just seized up. Like he had to start walking, and they had an aid station not far back where they had these massage tools, and he like laid down and they massaged out his quad for 5 minutes, and then he was able to keep running. But I assume that, on yours, did you have an aid station that you were getting fuel at on certain laps? Or did you just do the whole thing without any nutrition?
I'm trying to remember. No, I'm sure there were people out there on the yard that were handing out water, Gatorades. I remember they brought the little...
the gels.
Yeah, the powder, rip the packet open.
Yeah. Electrolytes.
So they supplied some of that stuff.
Yeah, it was, that really was the shift for me getting into this endurance racing thing is fueling while you're doing the activity is not something that I was ever thinking about. If you're going to go on a surf session, you're going to do it for 2 hours. You're not going to be fueling up while you're doing that. But this whole year, man, I got on this this morning diet where I would put chia seeds in like milk and chia seeds the night before, and you'd have chia seed pudding, which are really high protein, and just do chia seed, peanut butter, a little granola, and fruit every morning, and just fueling up before the activity, dude, it does so much. Yeah. So it was fun. I'm happy I did it. My knee is still sore, but I could see myself doing more.
How long ago was that?
It was like 2 weeks ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's you still on an ultra high from that.
A little bit, yes, yes.
Right.
And I'll like wake up now and I'll have my running shoes and I'll be like, I'll just instinctively want to go for a run. I'll be like, no, I don't think I should do that right now. Yeah. I think I should pump the brakes on that one just a little bit and try something new.
Did you lose weight in training?
I think I did. Yeah, I don't weigh myself that often, but my fiance's parents have been saying I look skinny, which is not a good thing for your fiance's parents to say. You look thin. You look too thin. I'm like, do I look thin?
Does that make them question you or her?
I think it's a subtle nod that I'm less manly. That's the way I feel.
Don't take it like that, man. Don't take it like that.
I'm naturally wiry. So, but yes, it was good. It was good, and I'm happy I did it now. I wanted to ask you what it was like to interview your mom this year.
Man, that was it was a blessing. Thank you for asking me to do that.
Thanks for doing it.
It took me a while to get to the place to where I could sit down with her and we could talk. And I remember feeling pressure. Like Kyle said, he needs this by, I don't remember if you gave me a date or something like that, but I remember feeling pressure. Like I need to get this done. And then I went over there and I just sat and talked to my mom. And it was really a beautiful thing. And thank you for asking me to do that because I have that audio and I learned a lot about my mom and my dad from what she told me, if it's true. He's not here to defend himself. I learned a lot about her life growing up and things that I had never thought to ask her before. I had never even thought about before. And I got about 2 hours. She went to an all-black school in St. Louis. She was on the swim team. She and my father knew each other for 2 months before they got married. They were married for, I think she said, 28 years. How she felt about certain things. Yeah, it was...
Uh-oh.
Man, stop it.
Oh, turn this off.
Oh, bad.
It's all good. It's all good. Anyone who's listening, that was not your phone. It was Chris's phone. Yeah, well, I thought it was very cool. I listened to the audio, and I appreciate you sending it over. I think that there's a slowness to an interview, to interviewing your parents that I thought you did well. Like parents are not professional storytellers, right? There's a kind of waiting for them to think about their answer to then ask that follow-up. Like I think that can be a value of it, is that you're just sitting with a single story longer than you normally would in a regular conversation, and then you're pointing the arrow at these certain parts of their lives that you don't necessarily ask about otherwise.
Yeah. I felt like too, it was going slow because she had to think about whether she really wanted to tell me the answer to some of those things,
Right.
and if they coincided with some of the things that she had previously told me.
Right.
But it was cool because she let me dig in a little bit, like I was channeling my inner Thurman, and as she would answer the questions, I was building off of those, kind of going backwards, in rewind, just kind of like taking those steps, going backwards. And it was nice too, because my mom is kind of, I wouldn't say that she's guarded, but I feel like she doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of value in retracing things.
Sure.
But for me, there is, right? Like recently, my daughter gave me a book for my birthday. I forgot the name of the book, but it was basically a book for me to write down my life story for her.
Sure.
So she would have that. And I thought that was real cool. And I don't think my mom sees things that way. She's from the old school, St. Louis, born and raised. And, she just kind of, I think she grew up just kind of like, you do what you got to do what you got to do, and don't hold on too tightly to what has passed.
Always move forward. Don't look back. Yeah. What do you think is the value of looking back?
Well, I mean, I always heard growing up that you don't know where you're going unless you know where you come from. I don't know whether that's true or not, but it gives me insight into why sometimes. Why am I like this? Why do I do these things? Or maybe not even myself, but why are things this way? Recently, my partner and I, my girlfriend and I, we've been watching High on the Hog.
I don't know this.
Yeah, you got to check it out especially if you like soul food.
Okay.
It's a show on Netflix about basically like soul food, and how Black people have colored the cuisine of America and where that food came from,
Sure.
right? And so
all the good food, all the good music,
dancing, style, we can go on and on and on. But this one in particular, he starts off the first episode in Africa. I think he's in not Benin. Maybe he was in Benin. He was in somewhere over there in Western Africa. And it started talking about the ingredients, right? And the same ingredients that I grew up eating in my dad's gumbo and, jambalaya and things like that, like okra and then, yams and things like that. And, I thought I've never had a yam. We always thought, you have candied yams at Christmas time. Those are sweet potatoes. I didn't know that and so it just shows like kind of the evolution of the ingredients.
Where it all came from and what the stories are around those ingredients.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, it's like we are a prepared meal, and knowing where the ingredients come from can give way to like a deeper appreciation of that meal, right? And similarly with our stories, right? And our parents' stories.
Yeah, I work with a lot of young Black men that have been, incarcerated for some reason or other. And, one of the things about it is that working with them is kind of like working with my younger self. I was very angry, and a lot of them have that same anger. And then, it helps me to understand, and I think it would help anybody if they took the time to really look at it, to like, where does that come from? Why is it like that? And we can look back over the years and see what has happened in this country and, just with the racial demographics and going forward to why that is still prevalent today,
right.
The epigenetics or the generational cycles.
And giving permission to that anger. It's I think there's a Joseph Campbell quote, which is, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you'll call it fate."
Until you make the unconscious conscious,
it will direct your life.
Yeah.
And you'll call it fate.
Shine some light on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of that. And I think that I struggle with this a lot because on one hand, if you have a victim mindset, looking back into the past can be defeating because it can be evidence for your victim for a life of, well, I can't do that because of this. But if you have a mindset that and I think that you're really good at showing people the strength within themselves. Like, I think that's why you're naturally a good mentor and leader, is like you are good at amping people up, and no matter what has happened to them in their life, like, people generally leave feeling better around you. Right. So I think that you have a nice way of being able to have conversations with people and then show them what's possible within them, even if they've made some mistakes and had a hard first part of their lives.
Oh, well, thank you for that. That's a huge compliment, Kyle. And I hope that I bring that type of energy to people, because I feel like that's what's important. You know, like the things that have happened, those are important, but I'm not going to let them dictate who I am today, right? Like, you got to acknowledge them, understand what they are, and that they are going to have some type of effect in life today on how we look at things, how our perspective is colored. But, you know, kick down the door and walk up in there like we own something. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't let any of that stop you. Before you say, I want to tell you, the garden, man. The garden is always teaching. And so what you just said right now made me think of a lesson that I learned in the garden. I get taught a lot in the garden, you know, because the garden will humble you. And so with the what you said about the light right now, bringing it to consciousness.
Sure.
There was a tree.
I never know what I just said, by the way. I'll
what
say
did
something.
you say?
I don't know, but it would just. But I think it's important when you're looking at your history to look at it through a lens of strength.
Yeah.
Even if you've had some missteps in your life.
Oh, you said
you don't want the
subconscious, bringing the subconscious to the conscious.
Yes. Yeah. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life.
That part.
Yeah.
So I learned that in the garden a couple of years ago. I have a tree that sits, you've been to my house, in the backyard by the garage is detached. And so the tree sits in the backyard, and it was a V, right? It had two main stalks going up. And that tree would just, like, every year it would just fall. It's an evergreen tree too, but just leaves would just fall and get all on top of the roof of the garage. I had to get up there with a broom or a blower or something like that.
What kind of tree is it?
It's a privet. It's a Japanese privet. And so I was sitting on my porch one day, and I was looking at the tree, and I don't know why I got this this urge or this impulse. I was like, man, I'm gonna go look at that tree closer. And I started chopping on it. I started pruning it a little bit with the pruner, and I started chopping on it a little bit more. And I realized one of the two stalks was dead. It had been dead the whole time. And I thought about it. I was like, man, I've had this thing in my life, and it's just been dead the whole time, just making a mess of my life, you know, or making me work harder and all that. And so I chopped one of the, and one was alive, right? And it reminded me that until you get in there and start looking at things, you may have something detrimental in your life and not even know it until you uncover that or make it aware.
That's a damn good metaphor. Yeah, I find one of my real pet peeves with culture right now is how social media can make us hold on to the dead parts of ourselves much longer than they need.
By validating?
Yeah, they validate a part of you that maybe was a part of you when you were 17 and now you're 25. Right. And you feel like many people feel like they still need to be that thing that's no longer relevant to them. There's maybe an overfamiliarity with this past part of yourself that's no longer interesting to you. It doesn't help you to be that today. right? And I'm, like doing the ultra in some ways I think was really good for me because it was unfamiliar. It's an unfamiliar territory. Like you learning how to just run and figuring out what that culture is all about I think that kind of stuff can transfer into other parts of your life. And it's valuable. And it's easy, I think, once you get a job and you grow up to kind of fall back on the more familiar aspects of who people say you are. And I always like it when I see people try. I mean, this is a long way of saying just try new shit.
Yeah. Courage. One thing that we know is that, the growth happens most of the time when we're uncomfortable. When we're in familiar, comfortable situations, that we're normally not growing at that place. So having the courage to try new things, and that's one of the big challenges working with young people, is to get them to try new things and come out of their comfort zone.
Do you have any examples of working with young black men in Garden 31 and anything that has stood out to you? You don't need to name names or anything, but
I mean, last week we were down at the juvenile detention facility. Last week we run a garden program down there, and somebody, I don't know who kicked it off, but these kids, they're too tough for TV, and somebody grabbed a pepper, trying to get them to eat stuff that's out there and they don't normally eat, because a lot of them grew up on, fast food,
right,
or, Mexican food or whatever it is, that we have a lot of restaurants in San Diego. And so a lot of times we're giving them lettuce or, tomatoes, or, they go for the watermelons and the cantaloupes, the fun stuff. But a lot of times, you want to try different herbs or, sour gherkins or things like that. And, I don't want to try, But last week, somebody kicked off a pepper eating frenzy. They all ate these hot peppers. They didn't know they were hot. They ate some hot ass peppers. I think they were like some Thai peppers or something. I was on the other side helping these kids build the shed, but man, they were throwing up. They were laying on the ground. It was fun. They were laying on the ground. They were crying. It was about 8 out of the 15 ate these peppers, but they learned. That's
how old are these kids?
Anywhere from 15 to 23. I think they got to leave. These are the kids that would normally, they have, their crimes are more serious or violent crimes. A lot of them have, murders or shootings, gang-related stuff, things like that. And so normally they would be housed in California youth authorities, but they passed a law a few years ago saying that they did away with the California youth authorities and they're housing those kids locally so that they can have community resources. And so these are those kids that we work with, and they're awesome. They're super intelligent. They're a lot more mature than their age in a lot of different ways, but they're also more really childish in a lot of different ways too. I feel like that was kind of probably
right. You have to grow up really fast, but you also miss certain aspects of childhood.
That part,
right?
Exactly. But they're really fun, and I have great hope for many of them. One of them came home recently, and we're working with him on our Tree of Life program, where we bring trees into the juvenile hall as part of the garden. Each youth gets his own tree, learns about that tree. We bring them books, teach them about the tree. They learn how to fertilize it, what kind of environment that tree wants, how to prune, harvest, care for the tree. And then once they come home, Garden 31 staff works with that kid to put that tree and plant it somewhere that's special to them. So it could be at the park they used to hang out. I don't care if it could be in front of the liquor store, it could be in the hood, grandma's house, wherever is a special place for them. But the idea behind it is they learn how to care for a living being. They learn they learn the importance of being there and being consistent. They learn how to develop environments for growth, and then they bring back life and fruit into the areas where at once they brought destruction or maybe even death.
Wow.
You
That's very powerful. I'm sure just one theme of the work that you're doing is that word consistency. Like, I would imagine that a lot of these kids have not had much consistency in their lives.
Yeah.
Right? Having to show up for something again and again, to watch just that concept of what can happen with consistency. If you don't get that early on with, if you're moving from house to house, if you don't have people who are consistently showing up in your life, I could see that being a very powerful lesson for a lot of them. Can you tell early on which kids you think will make it?
No. I guess, I think just my humanness, has me judging, but, they surprise you. There was one kid just recently, he said, I want to work with you when I get out, Chris, and, this and that, and, I'm changing my ways. I'm no longer gangbanging, and woo. And he went to court. I wrote a letter for him. Went to court, ended up getting released, and he cut his ankle monitor off 2 hours after he got released and been on the run ever since, And so, and then there are others that, do different. And so and the other thing too is, like, I'm down there with them once or twice a week for sure, maybe twice a week when we're running another program. So I don't get to see them every day. The consistency is weekly, but it's not daily.
Sure.
So I'm not seeing the development. And a lot of these kids, we've only been there for 2 years. A lot of these kids been locked up for 4 or 5 years. So I'm also have missed out on what that growth looked like from point A. But I have faith in all of them. I believe in all of them. I know that they can do it. If I can do it, they can do it. I was a knucklehead. I was stupid with it. I was the worst kind. I ain't lying. So I believe in all of them, and they're sharp. They're sharp too. But sometimes they get so entrenched in, they don't even know it. Like the manipulation tactics. They've had to live like that, like manipulating for the things that they get their whole lives. So they don't even understand that cannot be a thing, Yeah.
Well, you told me something a while ago that stuck with me, and I wanted to get your perspective on it again, which was that a big thing that changed inside you when you were incarcerated was learning how to get good at something. Like you said, I remember you said, you're like, when I was out committing crimes, like you didn't have a skill set that you could be proud of that was productive in society.
Right.
Like, and just getting good at something and feeling the confidence of competence changed an identity within you that allowed you to then take that next step. Tell me more about that, because I remember you saying that to me a couple years ago, and it stuck with me.
Yeah. So there's a couple things that I focus on when working with the youth. One of them is I want them to be able to. There are 3 main things that I want to see from them, and one is I want them to see themselves in a different light. I feel like they're not going to be able to make better decisions if they still see themselves as that person that, committed that crime or whatever. And it's not only, we work with a lot of youth, and not all of them are locked up or have committed crimes. But I want them to be able to see themselves differently. And these are all kind of integrated into one another. And then the second one is I want them to learn how to think for themselves. I want them to learn that their thoughts have value and that they don't have to go with what that person said or what the TV said or what the rapper on TV or not just the rapper, but any kind of music, magazines, whatever, social media. I want them to learn that their thoughts have value and that they can trust in themselves to make good decisions. And then the third one is, which kind of is a culmination of these other two, is like confidence. Building confidence that I can do things. And so one of the things that we've been working with in the juvenile hall is them setting goals, small attainable goals. They're very limited as to what they can do in there. But we want them, I want them to be able to set small attainable goals and attain them. And I made this thing like, SMART goals is just too much, and there's a couple of those things in there that sound the same to me, right? Like relevant and specific and, all that shit. So
sometimes we just find a good acronym.
And we try to make it fit.
We mold it to the acronym. Yeah. SMART sounds good, but maybe that doesn't actually make sense.
Yeah. Fuck all that. So we're doing MAP goals.
Okay. I like it. 3 letters. Measurable,
attainable, positive. That's it. That's all I want you to do. You got to be able to know exactly what you're doing. You got to be able to do it. It's got to be positive. And those things there. And so we're creating maps, right? We're creating maps with these MAP goals. And so one of the things is like, if you want to do 50 push-ups, do 50 push-ups. If you want to write a letter this week, write a letter this week. If you need to make a phone call this week, whatever it is, like read a book this week, something that you can do, just small things, so that when they do come home, they've practiced setting goals and achieving goals, and they know that they can do that. And because the thing about it is, like, when I was coming up, like, I did not know that I could do anything. Like, I felt like, I don't know that I felt like I was capable. I definitely didn't have the confidence, and when they're coming home, they're already dealing with the stigma, that provides for a lot of insecurity. And, but if they have a belief in themselves, if they have faith in themselves, if they can trust themselves, they're much further ahead. Then that support that they get when they come home, that they call it that soft handoff, those resources, they can amount to something. They can make use out of it. A lot of times I would come home from prison and be like, they have all these different resources. And I'd be like, how am I going to put all these things together, all these different 20, 30 resources, one for clothes, one for a computer, one for jobs, one for, for this and that. How am I make a mosaic out of this conglomerate? I don't even know what the hell is going on.
Right. It feels overwhelming, and you can't see what a change looks like because it all feels too big.
Yeah.
It's like a weight loss, right? Where if you don't know how to lose 1 pound, like you could never look 100, or you could never lose 100, right? It's like this is the whole power of, or the Atomic Habits philosophy. It's like, make it as small as possible. Because, like the author James Clear tells a story of this guy who he was trying to lose weight. So for the first month, he would drive to the gym, walk in the gym, do 1 pull-up, and drive home. And you're like, well, why would you ever do that? You're not going to lose weight. You're not going to get in shape by doing that. And the point that the author made was he's mastering the art of showing up. If you can do it at the smallest possible scale, then you can always ratchet up a goal. But if you don't have that concept in your brain, then it's not gonna work. When did you feel that shift for you? Like when you were incarcerated, at what point did you feel like you started to master your habits?
I mean, I got a boost. I'll say that, like, like, I got down on my knees, I prayed, and God came into my life, And that was the boost for me, like doing things for me that I could not do for myself. So I still to this day feel like I have not mastered my habits. You know, I'm very undisciplined at times. And I'm okay with that, you know, as long as I'm not going back to prison, as long as I'm not doing crimes and things like that, you know. I don't want to live in a structured, too structured of a way. But yeah, so for me, it was like I was instilled with a drive and a passion that was like, no matter what, you're doing this. So so everything just kind of went in that direction, you know, and it was easy. Like even now, I've been trying to kind of separate myself personally, my work life, you know, type thing. And it's hard because the same people I work with are the same people that I hang with, you know, a lot of times outside of work, and that's caused problems too. So I'm still learning those lessons, but yeah, mastering my habits.
When it comes to working with younger folks who are in juvenile hall, what are some examples of goals that they might set for themselves? Do you have anything that comes to mind?
Yeah,
Because you did say that they have, you know, for people who maybe have never met anyone in juvenile hall who don't really understand this world, you said that they have limitations on what they can do, what kind of goals they can set. Bring me into that world a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny because I just went to court for one of the kids, one of the youth. He was trying to get out a few months early so that he could attend San Diego State. He had graduated from community college. So a lot of their goals in there are based around academics or education. Some of them are continuing to get their high school diploma, or once they've got their high school diploma, they're going to community college through correspondence courses. And so that's really good. The judge for the kid that I just went to court from, he did not allow the kid to get out. And, you know, whatever, you know, he's only got a few more months, so he'll be all right. And I think if there was somebody that I did have to bet on is going to make it, this kid is one of them. But one of the things that the judge said, excuse me, in denying his petition was that even though there are limited opportunities for positive programming in there, it was obvious that the kid had found all of them, you know, or many, and he would still have opportunity for that. And the kid, this particular kid, had done just about everything he could do. Every program that's in there, he's graduated from community college. Like, he's done just everything he can do. And so I stood up and I was speaking on behalf of the youth to the judge. And one of the things that I told him was, like, you know, you're right. There's limited opportunity for positive programming in there, but there's unlimited opportunity for negative programming in there. Like, it's always there all the time. This kid has done an amazing job of avoiding it for the past year or so. And I've watched him tell other kids, like, I'm not gangbanging anymore. I'm done. I'm not going to be fighting anymore. That's a hard thing to do when you're locked up. I've seen a few people, even in prison, you know, walk up to their homeboys and tell them, I'm done with you. And it's not an easy thing to do, you know. And so I commend him for having that courage. But for me, it was kind of like looking at it like, okay, he's done everything positive that he can, but a lot of times you're a victim of circumstance. And I feel like it can only go bad from here, you know, by keeping him in there. And so they, you know, inside there, I think probation does the best job that they can. You know, we have to trust in that. And they have other contractors that come in and bring positive programming to these kids. Many of them really care about those kids, but you know, the TV's on 24/7. They're in there now. They got, we didn't have this when I was like that. They got I don't know what the Nintendos or they're playing
Do
video
you have cell
games.
phones in there or no?
No, I don't think they have
Probably
cell
very
phones.
good. Like it's probably very good that they don't have cell phones in there, just for the amount of distraction and like brain rotting that social media does. To actually have that limited distraction would be, I would imagine, better for learning circumstances. I think that we're in a time of great nihilism for many people. They feel that there's nothing that they can do to really participate in making society a better place. They maybe have jobs that are not meaningful to them. Their lives just feel kind of routinized, and to the point where like they're not connecting with anything bigger than themselves. And one thing that I very much like and respect about you is that you seem very connected to a larger source, and your days are spent on behalf of something bigger than yourself. Like, it sounds trite to say, but like I do think that gives you a level of energy that isn't accessible if you're just thinking about your own problems all the time. Is that something that you're consciously working on and thinking about day to day, holding that perspective
Absolutely.
of service?
Absolutely. I work for God all day, every day, no matter what I do. Like, I have friends, I'm not in the church. I'm not in the mosque. I don't do all that stuff, but I know who I work for, and I know who gave me my purpose in life. And, every day I strive to achieve that purpose, and I fall short all the time. My humanness causes me to fall short of my standards all the time, but I always want to walk in the will and the purpose that has been given to me, and is bigger than me. And I realized early on once I found my path that with my faith, there's a lot of things I don't have to worry about. I think about people that don't have faith in something, in whatever it is. I try not to put my specific views on anybody, but in a creator higher than them. Man, I'd be stressed out. I would be, if I didn't have my faith, I'd be stressed out. If I thought that I was the end all be all, and this was it. And so, yeah, every day that's what energizes me. That's what allows me to go on. And I never wanted to do, even when I was running the streets, hustling, selling dope, like, I never wanted to just do a little bit. I wanted to be the Black Scarface. Like, we finna take over, and I always wanted to do something bigger than me, and so it's always for me been about community and my people and building things. And I think, this is one of those things that we talked about earlier about looking back, right? Knowing why is it important to know where you came from? Well, when I look back, I was raised as an only child. And I always felt like I wanted that family, right? My parents split up, and so I was either at one of their houses, and I really felt like I didn't have anybody. And so I've always wanted to have strong relationships and a strong community and a strong family. And I think that's one of the things that drives me today too, in wanting to build community. And that's one of the reasons, like, when it doesn't go right, like I lost one of my best friends last year, I lost that relationship through work stuff, and it affects me a lot. It really hits, and so, yeah, it's always about, and the other thing is just physics. Like, shit, you can take a twig and snap it, but if you put a bundle of branches together, it's a lot harder to break. So, it's like, just knowing that we're stronger together it's like, why wouldn't we do that?
Yeah. We put so much emphasis on individual accomplishment. And I think it's one of the great lies culture tells right now is that it's the individual. I mean, even right, I talk about it ad nauseum, but like this fucking book that I've been working on for 3 years, like writing is it's not a solo pursuit. There's an element of it that, you're on the surfboard yourself doing your thing, but man, the amount of people that along the way that you're bouncing ideas off of and editing and talking through things, like anything accomplished, I would go far as to say, like, and really anything you've heard about was done with a team, whether or not the media celebrated just the one person or not. Like, our humans' great power is our social power. That's what, the reason the fucking squirrels haven't taken over is because they're not very good at organizing in groups more than two, right? if you got 10,000 squirrels all ganged up on the same mission, that's terrifying, right? Luckily, they can't do that.
I mean, look at the ants.
Yes, the ants can do it, and the ants can move great things. But yeah, I think it's an important point to remember, and I think that there is. I mean, we're seeing it. I mean, just statistically, with a great amount of people going back to a less dogmatic version of religion. That I'm in full support of. Really, I think that we have not been able to find a substitute for that community that a church or a mosque or whatever can give you. I mean, I went to church for one of my first times a couple months ago on a Sunday. I just like walked in and was at a sermon, and it gave a feeling that was not available previously, and it's something that I'm toying with a little more. And it's funny because growing up in this like activist, left-wing activist house, very like anti-war Santa Cruz, like religion was seen as a thing for dumb people, right? Like, oh, why do you believe in all that nonsense? And that's just what I was brought up with. And I'm noticing that that's a big part of growing up, right? It's leaving those parts of yourself that no longer serve you, right? The dead tree, right? That a dead tree can be an idea in yourself that's just been hanging around, right? Causing you trouble. And for me, I do think that finding a relationship with God is valuable.
Man, it's the most valuable thing I think that we can do in life. It's funny you said that because talking about the dead things in our lives, I was listening on the way up here on my Audible to a Thich Nhat Hanh book, and he was talking about exactly that. I think...
Do you remember what the book was?
I want to say Teachings of the Buddha. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you look back in America, I think it was in 1955, somewhere around that time, where they took God out of the schools, and I think we're starting to see, not starting to, but we've been seeing some of the ramifications of that, and dogmatism and legalism and all that stuff can be very off-putting, and I can understand why people are against religion. Like, you can look back over decades and centuries of where different religious sects have done some pretty heinous things.
The symbol is really is legitimately a crucifixion of a person, which is like, okay. We started from there, huh? All right.
Well, I mean, there's been wars and, just all kinds of stuff. But people are people, just because they're in the church doesn't mean that they're not people, and they're not going to do people things, And so don't stop yourself from finding freedom and power because of the idea somebody else gave you about what these people are about, because it's really not about the people. For me, it's about my personal relationship with God and finding my purpose and my freedom and being able to walk in his will or her will, whatever they, I even, you use certain words and people flinch at that, why's it got to be a he or why's it got to be a her, or what, whatever it is, like, it don't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you said something that I had not really thought of, which is using faith as a way to lower anxiety. Like you said, you're like, if I didn't have this, I'd be so much more stressed out. And I don't think we think of having a faith as a way to as an anxiety tool, right?
I'd be stressed.
Right, but I understand it, because the human need for belonging is maybe our most primal need. And right now, whether it be on social media or at your job, how much anxiety do we have about, oh my God, am I going to get fired? Oh my God, do these people like me? Oh my God, like, am I excluded, right? Like the amount of times in a day that I have the thought, I'm not sure that person likes me. Or, oh my God, maybe I'm doing bad work right now. Just like all of those anxious thoughts are translations of maybe I don't belong here, right? And to have something that you have where you feel a deeper belonging.
But I mean, I'm just as susceptible as anybody else. I tell you, recently, like I said, like those personal things.
It feels like a bigger net that you can fall back into.
Yeah, but and that's perfect that you said that, because you're right. But at the same time, that's why the scriptures, like the Bible, the Quran, or whatever Torah, whatever the scriptures are, it could be anything, the Tao Te Ching or whatever. That's why those are so important to read too, because no matter how in tune you are to it or how attuned you are to it, like, you can be susceptible, because this world is powerful, right? And this world can throw you off balance. And in the Bible, so many times it says to guard against things, to guard against this, to guard against that. It's just like the food that you put in your body. If we keep putting all those gummy bears in our body, we're going to get fat if we're not running ultra marathons. You know what I'm saying? And
guard against the gummy bears.
Guard against the gummy bears.
It's in the Bible, actually. Let's guard.
What was that? Kyle 17:3?
Yeah, it's a gummy bear on the cross.
Yeah.
It's stretched out across.
But those things are super important, because they're really teachings and lessons. And if we don't adhere to some teaching, whatever it be that talks to your spirit, then we could adhere to anything, right? And so, recently I was affected by personal relationship that had gone bad, and I hadn't really been stewarding myself, right? I hadn't really been caring for my garden, right? And when that hit, boom, I started drinking, started smoking weed, and then it's a cycle, right? So I was doing those things. Now I'm doing these things to care for myself, because I don't want to feel this heaviness and this burden, right? But what it started doing pretty quickly was dimming my light, right? So now I'm in this cycle until I had to stop and be like, wait a minute, man, I'm going the wrong direction with this. And then now I feel more like myself again. I feel like my light is coming back to me. But it's really easy to get caught up in things. And I think, people say, like, don't read this book or that book or what the whoop. And it's like, man, like, you got to find it for yourself.
Exactly. You got to find it for yourself, because life's so fucking hard. Being able to click into something that feels real for you and feels bigger than yourself is necessary to make it through, man. It's so necessary.
You better find something.
Yeah.
Life is not easy. Not that it's hard, but we're going to be challenged.
What do you think is the most underrated edible plant?
Oh, I thought you were going to say basketball team. I was going to say San Antonio Spurs. But, the most underrated edible plant?
Yeah.
Lately I've been on a plant
It could be a tree. It could be
Fungus?
it could be a fungus. It could be a tree. It could be a plant.
I feel like mushrooms are pretty underrated for all the properties that they have and the benefits that they have for the human body and even the care of the environment.
Yeah.
Period. Like I've been growing mushrooms at home lately, and
What kinds?
Right now I'm growing turkey tail and lion's mane.
Cool.
And I've been experimenting with some tinctures, some cordyceps, and I feel like mushrooms definitely are underrated, but also elderberry. The elderberry tree. I mean, especially living in California, I feel like they're underrated because
It's a California plant, right?
Yeah, they
used
grow
to be
native all over the canyons.
You know, I did a copywriting project for this elderberry company. They got a government grant to grow elderberry at big large scale farms around California, and like drought resistant, has huge native significance. You can do all kinds of things with it. I'm fully on board. I mean, I didn't mean to steal your elderberry thunder, but
No, please.
I think elderberry, I agree.
And they bloom for a long time. Like they're still, we started harvesting elderberries probably in June, and there's still fruit on the trees today. That's a long fruiting season for a lot of trees.
Are you growing elderberry at Garden 31?
No, nobody grows elderberry. I have a friend that we grow them at the house. I have a friend that's they've got a big farm in San Diego, in Carlsbad, and they got elderberries all over the farm. They don't harvest them though because they just take too much energy to harvest. So they'll let people come in and harvest them. But I think for a crop that if you're going to make a food production crop out of that, other than just like what you're doing for you and your family or small scale, you got to have a really focused effort. From what I know, at least. I don't know a whole lot about the harvesting of them, but I know we have them and we make jam and that out. My girlfriend does. I've been baking sourdough bread, so I make the bread. She makes the jam. We put it together. Slip, slap, boom.
Done.
Yeah, done. Hey, I want to ask you.
Yes.
What's your most underrated plant?
Underrated plant for me, man. Dude, I don't know how you feel about persimmons, but persimmons have a special place in my heart because I think that persimmons are a very misunderstood fruit because it takes a perfectly ripe persimmon to be delicious. Yeah. And if you have a persimmon that is not ripe enough, it's not like an apple where apple's like, hey, I'm cruising. Like I can cruise for a couple weeks. It's a little too ripe, not ripe enough. Like it's okay. Like I'm down with it. Yeah. Persimmons, it's like a 1 day. Persimmons have like 1 day.
Get them in that sweet spot.
Yes. But when I do, man, growing up, we had a persimmon tree nearby, and I think, and now that we're getting into fall, it's persimmon season.
The fruit that we are growing persimmons at Garden 31, and they are ripening right now. I looked at them yesterday. They're still a little green, but
yeah, big fan of persimmons. Chris Burroughs, is there anything else that we want to say? We still got time for a surf session this evening.
And man, like I said, I'm here with you, Kyle, KT. I came to hang out with you, man. So whatever you got for me, as long as that water is a little warm, it's not too cold.
It's very warm right now.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Where can people get in touch with you, learn more about Garden 31?
Yeah, check us out at www.garden31.org, on Instagram, garden.31, Facebook. You can email me at chrisb@garden31.org or at community@garden31.org. LinkedIn, we're on all the stuff.
Chris Burroughs, I find our conversations to be always very grounding for me. You have an open seat on the podcast anytime, and I'm such a fan, my brother.
Yeah, I appreciate you, brother. I'm your fan too, man. It's always a blessing talking to you. It's always an honor, man, and I consider you a really good friend. Can't wait to see you get married, walk down that aisle.
Oh boy! Bye everyone.